Hey everybody, Jeff from Corrugated Cavalier here. Today I'm going to do a little video on two different interpretations of the first play in I.33 or 133, whatever you call it. The perhaps oldest treatise on armed medieval combat, and in this case, sword and buckler. So basically, the first play in I.33 has the master or priest in what we call half shield, and the student in first ward, like so. So the first thing that the student has to do with this play is get to half shield basically somehow. And then the next step is, in both these interpretations, the next step is a counter is a bind to the outside and overbind to the outside, so your sword is over theirs. And then perhaps a step, perhaps not, and a shield bash into their arms, and an Unterhau or upward cut to the head. This seems totally fine as long as you get the shield bash or shield knock on top of both of the opponent's arms so they can't just lift the buckler and block the cut. The second interpretation is I got from Roland Varjeka and perhaps his training partner or co-teacher, I'm not sure which. And it starts the same way. So student here, have to get to half shield somehow, and then an overbind to the outside, and then the shield knock or bash. But then you come here and you do what they call a Sturzhau, or a plunging cut. So you invert the wrist at the end of the cut. It looks like you're coming with an overhead cut, but you invert the wrist at the end to get over the buckler. They also mentioned that this interpretation is partially to do with sword and shield, so if your opponent has a larger shield, I think this makes a lot of sense, because an upward cut when your opponent has a big shield, even if you've managed to get their arms down, is not super likely to land, I think. So I'm going to go and do these with my training partner, Paul. He gets killed a lot, but he actually gets something to my arms once in a while. So I'm going to do the first interpretation first. So as you can see, it's just fine as long as I get my shield knock on top of their sword, which is actually, the placement is not as easy as you might think. It's not just a magical thing where you put the buckler there and their sword can't pass. No, the placement of the buckler actually does really matter, getting a good solid contact and where it is on the shield itself. So the next one will be the second interpretation with the Sturzhau or plunging cut. There, Paul actually got my arm a little bit, but it wasn't anything of the technique's fault. That was just my shield bash going wrong. So let's try it one more time. So Paul's sword escaped that time, but it didn't matter so much because I went over the guard with the Sturzhau. And if you are interested in this type of cut, I would recommend practicing it on its own. It takes a good flexible wrist, and you really need your thumb on the side of the blade to get any kind of edge alignment. You can also turn it into a thrust. So I'm going to take this into the 100 cuts per day challenge, and I'm going to do 100 cuts on my Pel. I'm going to include the shield bash as one of the attacks though. So I'm going to do 25 shield bash with Unterhau to make 50 attacks, and 25 shield bash with Sturzhau to make another 50 attacks for 100. Here we go. All right, it's 100 tacks on Paul the Pel. I hope you enjoyed my little drill that I came up with to go back and forth between two different interpretations of the first play in I.33. Please click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Share it with people that you know who might also enjoy this. Thanks for coming by the channel, and as always, be good to each other. Thank you.